Hi, I'm Rich and welcome to the third video showing you how I'm building a swimming pool in my garden. In the last video I shared a bit more detail around the design, the planning around the excavation and the excavation itself. In this video I'm going to get the base ready for the steelwork and the concrete pour. Enjoy! So the first thing that needs to be done, now that the hole is dug, is to add a layer of gravel onto the exposed clay surface. A lot of rain is due, and if the rain falls on the exposed clay surface, it could destroy the top layer. Adding gravel also helps by enabling any water that falls in the base to drain quicker, and it also provides a nice clean surface to walk on. I used a graded gravel, so dust right the way up to about 1.5 inch stones, because it will compact together nicely later. I didn't fancy moving that lot by myself, so I drafted in some hired help, and we started by assembling a new wheelbarrow. I think you'll agree the last wheelbarrow has seen better days. So we got to work moving 6 bags of gravel from the front of the house, and we wheelbarrowed it into the hole. By the end of the day, we got enough gravel into the hole to protect the base from the impending storm. We used a laser level to ensure that the first batch of gravel was level, and it seemed good enough. The next day I added some of the remaining gravel, and I also started training up the apprentice. She did get the hang of it in the end. She has grown a bit since I was building the last pool. That night we did have quite a bit of rain, which meant that some of the sides had eroded away, but a short cleanup operation soon solved that. Now that most of the gravel was in, we used the plate compactor to compact all of the gravel to make it absolutely solid. Trying to level the gravel at night was a bit difficult, so I got some rebar, I cut it down into small 30cm lengths, banged it in every metre, and then that night I used the laser level to level the rebar, and then the following day I added the remaining gravel into the hole and then tamped it so it was nice and flat with the plate compactor. Fortunately I had a surprise visit from an old friend, so naturally I put him to work. So I was doing some checks and balances, and the hole wasn't quite big enough, so it does need to be enlarged a little bit. I put some boards down, got the spades out, and started taking some material from the sides of the hole. I did have a special guest turn up. Once he'd been relocated, we got back to work. I should have allowed a slightly larger gap in the dig, but after a couple of nights of trimming the sides of the hole, we got there in the end. I did get a second visit from the frog. Did rehome him a bit further away, but nevertheless I'm sure he'll probably come back to check up on progress in a few weeks. Now that the gravel is compacted and level, it was time to add some sand, and this sand is there ready for the next stage of the base. If you are finding these videos interesting and useful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to use the comment section to tell me about any projects that you've got on that are similar, or if you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to post a comment. Okay, back to the video. So now that the sand is in, it's time to make a timber frame around the base to make sure that everything is level. The top of the frame will mark where the top of the concrete slab will be. We did have some really nice weather, which did make this process slightly more enjoyable. For the frame, I got 6 lengths of 175mm tannalized timber and cut it down to size. Then I cut some small corner pieces and drilled some holes in them so that I could fix them to the corner of the frame. Then I moved all the wood into the hole and started to construct the frame. One thing I didn't mention before is I put in some string lines at my finished floor height by using the laser level, and I used these string lines when building the frame at the bottom, and I used a long ruler to make sure that the frame was going to be built at the right height. But in the initial parts of the assembly, I built the frame and I just used a normal level horizontally on the frame to make sure that the frame was perfectly level. After a quick tea break, I double checked the height of the frame. This is to make sure that the base is exactly at the right height. The insulation then turned up, but I'll hold off on putting the insulation on the damp-proof membrane in the hole until I get the steel. This is just to stop the insulation and the damp-proof membrane from blowing away in our next impending storm. So now that the steel is on order, it was time to go and have a look at the blocks that I'm going to use to build the walls. And just a reminder on the walls, I'm building the pool out of ICF. ICF stands for Insulated Concrete Forms, and these are basically giant Lego blocks that are made of polystyrene that you fill with concrete and steel, which gives you a concrete reinforced, really strong wall. I'll do a more in-depth video on the ICF construction method that I'm using soon, so look out for that. After a rather pleasant drive through the countryside, we got to the yard. I was taken through a few do's and don'ts with regards to the blocks, and then I used their training blocks to start building a pretend pool in the yard. This all seemed to go well, the blocks fitted together nicely. I can't wait to get the blocks on site here so that I can start building the pool. Okay, so I think I've spent enough to where I'm going through the costs so far in a bit more detail. So here goes. As of the last video, digging the hole and the soil removal cost around £2.5 grand, which included the removal of 35 metres cubed of clay and rock. I bought a laser distance measure for £26, surveyor's tape measure £11, and in this video I bought 6 jumbo bags of graded stone for £2.40, 1 jumbo bag of sand for £34, a wheelbarrow for £60, some string for £6, laser level £21, asphalt rake £25, 8mm rebar for leveling the base £25, and 6 4.8 metre lengths of timber for the frame for £55. In the next video, I'm going to finish the base prep ready for the concrete pour, which will include laying the damp-proof membrane, the insulation, steel in the base, L-bars for the walls, which will basically put us in a good place for the concrete pour for the base. See you next time.